Thing number six, Gary, we're actually doing a bonus point this week. We're talking tax receipts, government spending, and that's exactly it. Thing number six, bonus point this week, tax receipts versus government spending.
So, Rob, you remember as part of the five things a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how Fed Chair Jerome Powell went in front of Congress and flat out called their overspending as unsustainable. The reason I thought that was interesting is Powell has generally tried to avoid making a lot of comments on uh, congressional spending. And he's had to exercise a lot of discipline to do so. He's been increasing interest rates to try to get inflation down. Congress has been spending a lot, stimulus spending, which ends up creating more inflation. So I thought it was really interesting that Powell went in front of Congress and just flat out told them, listen, guys, you can't keep doing this. It's not going to work. Um, when I wrote that, there were a couple of people on Twitter or on X who came out and said, this is it's tax cuts, and it's not a spending problem, it's tax receipts, which they incorrectly call revenue. Government tax receipts are tax receipts. That's not revenue. Revenue is a voluntary exchange between two parties that decide to exchange goods, services, money, whatever it is. um, Taxes are not revenue. But at any rate, the what some of these people said to me is, no, you're wrong. We've had all these tax cuts, and government, they say revenue, I say tax receipts are down. And, therefore, if the government would just tax rich people more, we wouldn't have a problem. There's no issue with the spending level. So we took a look at the chart, right? We had Andrew put together the chart. Um, and what we saw is that, let me see, if I just go back roughly a decade or so, tax receipts were around $3 trillion. They are now in excess of $5 trillion. That is massive growth. But in the same time period, government outlays have gone from $4 trillion. They peaked around $9 trillion during COVID, and right now are sitting somewhere just under $7 trillion. So we've had a massive increase in tax collections and an even bigger increase in government spending. We're at the point where government spending is pushing out the private market economy. In my opinion, this is not a revenue issue, and we shouldn't be using that word. It's not a tax collection issue. The real issue is our government is spending too much, and they are going to continue to do so until the dollar has no value.
And the argument that you're receiving back, Gary, is okay, we tax the concept around taxing the rich. That's a way to pay for the benefits of the poor. Your argument in response is that yes, but the problem is the government spending continues. The government spending is focused on consumption, not investment. And no matter what, regardless of whether or not you're creating more tax collection, it's still creating inflation due to this government spending.
So, Rob, that's the key thing. When people have these conversations, they say, okay, well, we should tax the rich more and spend more, and that'll be good for poor people. And they think these policies will help poor people. And the part that I think they're wrong about, the part that I think maybe they're missing something, is that you're entirely right. First of all, this government spending, it's not an investment. It is simply pulling consumption forward. We're taking on debt for this. The more important thing is all of that government spending it's exactly what you said, it leads to inflation. So if you are a hedge fund manager and you own assets like stocks, real estate, gold, Bitcoin, if you own hard assets or stocks that will benefit from inflation, you can do great in that situation. If you own your own home, right? As the dollar goes down in value, the dollar price of your home will go up, but the value of your mortgage payment every month goes down. Inflation works well for a limited number of wealthy people. It is crushing the poor people. So while I applaud their good-hearted effort to try to help poor people, I'm going to suggest that their plan to do so, even though they have good intentions, will actually make things worse. That the best thing we can do for poor people is reduce government spending, get inflation under control, help these people get jobs, and put them in a position where they have more control over their lives and where they can save in dollars and not see the value of those dollars go down. every month we're in a situation, Rob, where just the grocery bill or the electric bill, it's just crushing families, right? And at this point, we're at the point where it's not just hurting, poor people, it's hurting the middle class as well. Inflation is a horrible, horrible tax on poor people. And so if these are the people you want to help, good for you. It's great to want to help the less fortunate, but from an economic point of view, there's a better way to do it. And that's what I'm suggesting. And when you take a look at this graph, it should be pretty obvious, and also worth pointing out, as government spending has grown, we still have more and more people living from paycheck to paycheck. It's not working.
And Gary, I know you've mentioned in the past too, this isn't a Democrat issue. This isn't a Republican issue because both sides are frivolous spenders. Let's say we did have a scenario in a makeup world, right, where you did have someone that got it and understood what we were talking about in terms of curbing government spending. How quickly can something like this actually get to a point where we are curbing inflation and things are getting back to some sort of normalcy? Because for me, it just seems like the hole is being dug deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's almost as if it's a lost cause in terms of even being able to get out of that hole.
Yeah, there's a really good open question right now, is has it gone too far? Is it possible to get this under control? And it may be possible to get our $35 trillion of on-balance sheet debt under control. But what we do with our more than $200 trillion of off-balance sheet liabilities, I have no idea. There's no way, there's no level of taxation on wealthy people. You could confiscate every dollar every billionaire on the planet has. It doesn't add up to $200 trillion. And those are programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare. Those programs are really expensive and we have massive liabilities coming up. I don't know that those can be addressed without really hurting people's expectations for what they're going to receive. But in terms of an ability to turn things around, we have two great examples recently. The new president in El Salvador, he's gotten their crime rate down, he's gotten their inflation rate down, their economic growth is better. Things changed pretty quickly there. And then Milei in Argentina, wow. I mean, he slashed government spending, took them from a massive deficit to a surplus in something like 9 weeks, I think. It was like 2 or 3 months. Their inflation rate's coming down. He's got more work to do. But the fact is, if you have the right person in office and people willing to follow along with that plan, you can get some really good impact quickly. Now, Rob, you're totally right. This is a nonpartisan issue. I'm not taking sides. If you're listening to this, you can be team red, cool. You can be team blue, good for you. I don't care. Whoever you are, you're welcome here. The only thing I'm going to tell everyone is that we cannot vote our way out of this. Right now, the smart money is betting that President Trump retakes office. He is a big spender. He's not going to cut spending. And even if he has a Republican Congress, he's still not going to cut spending. And a Republican Congress is not going to cut spending. We don't know yet who is going to be leading the Democratic ticket. The smart money today is betting on Kamala Harris, but we'll find out more in the next couple of weeks when the Democrats have their convention. The only thing I can tell you is whoever they pick is not going to cut spending. So we're not in a position right now to vote our way out of this. We don't have a Milei or a Bukele or, a Rand Paul in position, somebody who's a real economic pragmatist who will cut spending. So whatever happens, we're going to have more spending. And if you're worried about inflation, if you're worried about the economic future of this country, I can assure you that there's no one you can vote for this November that will fix that problem. And I'm sorry to be laughing about that. It's not a pleasant thing to say. It's not a pleasant thing to think about. But you're totally right. This is not a partisan issue. Feel free to vote for whoever you want to, but our government spending is not going to come down.
One thing you can do is get a premium subscription to DKI, access the current recommendations portfolio, helping you hedge against inflation with different positions that have set our followers, subscribers up for success in any type of market. With that being said, this wraps up this week's version of the 5 things. As always, please head to our website, deepknowledgeinvesting.com. Sign up for a free subscription where you will get information on the 5 things, as well as notifications on certain material that Gary's putting out there. With that being said, we do have a premium level subscription that allows us to continue to produce this great content. That allows subscribers to access material before anyone else, full transparency on current recommendations and portfolio, and a lot of other benefits in terms of special guest webinars and whatnot over the course of time. Gary, thank you so much. As always, any closing thoughts from you?
Thanks, Rob. Always fun filming these with you. Great to spend this time with you. For everyone else who spent this time with us today, thank you. We really appreciate it. We know your time is valuable. And I really appreciate what Rob was saying. We started to prepare our subscribers for inflation in November of 21. And at the time, we were buying gold, Bitcoin, oil, energy, uranium. Those are all things that have done really well. And so, one of our key messages is a lot of the things that we talk about are not pleasant. A lot of our views on the economy, what's happening with people, it's scary. It's not a rosy outlook. But my key message to everyone is don't be upset about it, right? There are ways to protect your portfolio, your home, your net worth from these things. And if you handle it right, there are ways to make money from all of these issues. And if you're confused about that or want some help, reach out, like Rob said. I'm also reachable at ir@deepknowledgeinvesting.com. Feel free to reach out. We've helped a lot of people with these issues. We are not pessimistic on a daily basis. We feel like we can always find ways to help people make money. So reach out if you want some help.